If you are watching this video, you are probably considering visiting the Philippines, moving to the Philippines, retiring to the Philippines, working from the Philippines if you're a traveling working nomad, perhaps. I have lived in the Philippines, primarily Cebu City, Cebu, the Philippines, for a little over 8 years now, and traveled several of the islands, done a lot of research about the Philippines and other nations. I was going to move to Thailand. I had made up my mind I was going to move to Thailand 9 years ago. And over the course of some time, I decided, for a number of reasons, primarily the language barrier, that I would go to the Philippines instead. I had considered Panama, Costa Rica, Belize, Ecuador, Uruguay, South America, um, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, the Philippines, and probably a couple other nations as well in Asia. I have been very surprised over the years, the influence that I've had on people, and on many occasions, meeting people at various events, or just them recognizing my voice in a restaurant talking with a friend, and somebody says, "I recognize your voice. Are you on YouTube?" And how many people have told me, "I am here because of you." I really became comfortable with moving to the Philippines because of your videos. And likewise, when I was researching, I watched other vloggers. There weren't many vloggers back, 9 years ago, 10 years ago when I first started researching, and it gave me a certain comfort level. Watched videos from the various nations, read many different books from about the Philippines and Thailand, other areas, and I finally settled on the Philippines. And English speaking country, English as their second language, was a big reason for that. Cost of living was a big reason for that. Reasonable infrastructure was a big reason for that. It was a basket of requirements, wants, needs, I guess, that the Philippines met, in my opinion. And we all have different budgets. We have different needs and wants and desires and dreams, and the Philippines is not for everybody, but it is a great place to visit at the very least. I know a number of expats who live here 6 months at a time, 6 months, and they go back to their home country. So there are lots of options how you manage this. And in the past, I've never really intentionally made a video um, trying to explain to why I've told people why I've moved here, but I've never really made the statement a little more pro Philippines, I guess, uh, and suggesting that it very well may be the right place for you. And I say this because of emails and comments I get from a number of people. During these last, 2.5, 3 years of travel restrictions and such, many of the people that were planning to come to the Philippines, they spent their money and their time, and because the Philippines was one of the later countries to really open up without restrictions, uh, they went to South America, they went to Colombia, they went to Panama, they went to Thailand, they went to other countries, and they spent their time and their money there. And some fell in love with those countries, Mexico. Um, and there's once you go and you start learning another culture and enjoying another culture, there's less likely that you're going to jump to the next country and go through that learning process again. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to give you a number of reasons why you should seriously consider visiting, moving, retiring to the Philippines. And I think the first reason would be because you can. At the present time, you can go on Google Flights, for instance. I did a video about that. And you can search airline prices out many months in advance. And so you can get an idea if the flight prices are an issue. Depends on where you're flying from, how much it's going to cost you. And you can buy tickets there out many months in advance as well. Because you can, because we're out of that travel restriction time. And, there are some rumors that there's going to be another crisis in the future. And when that last crisis happened, many millions of people left the Philippines. They left Thailand. They left the other countries. They went back to their home country. I was happy to be stuck, quote unquote, stuck in the Philippines, and it worked okay for me. Um, I don't have family that is, I've got daughters and granddaughters, grandson, and important. I would like to see them again, and but at that point in time in my life, it was more important that I stay here in the Philippines. But you can. So number one, you can travel. You can travel, and the costs are manageable. So it might be the right time for you to go. Some people say because of this and because of the e-travel form I have to fill out to go. I don't want to go because of that. And well, that's, if you're using a phone, an Apple phone, an Android phone that is not de-Googled, uh, these companies are tracking you pretty much everywhere you go and everything you do on your computer and your phone. They know every site that you visit. So this e-travel thing, the Philippines does not have this vast surveillance network. It's just something they put into place, and they haven't taken it down yet. And I don't think it should be a big issue for most of you who are considering traveling. Number two, the culture here. It is probably one of the easiest countries to travel to. People, citizens of most countries, not all, can get a 30-day visa on arrival. If your passport is good for 6 months, 6 more months at least, you can buy a ticket, you can fly to the Philippines, and they will stamp your passport with a 30-day free visa, basically, a tourist visa, and you can extend that. You can extend that for another 30 days. After you extend it 30 days, you can extend it 2 months or 6 months after that, up to 3 years before you have to leave the country, at least for like a day or fly in and fly out type thing. Also, so that's the immigration side. Also, the people here, they are welcoming, they are friendly, English speaking, tolerant for the most part, unless you cause trouble, which you don't want to do. There's this thing called FACE, not just in the Philippines, but across much of Asia. It's not good to confront people, to start an argument where somebody's going to lose face. And if you get aggressive and confrontational, you're just going to make the issues worse, and you don't just make enemies of that person, but all of their coworkers and their family and everything else. And if you're seeking to get some things done with the government, you're just going to create more problems for yourself. Believe me. But yeah, the culture, the people, if one person doesn't understand or speak, many people understand English, but they're not comfortable speaking English. And for instance, when I go visit my girlfriend's family, there are a couple people there that group of people. I'm going today for her birthday, as a matter of fact, and the couple people that speak English understand it. But if I say some goofy joke that I am inclined to do occasionally, almost everybody will chuckle and laugh a little bit. They understand my English and the joke, but they are not comfortable responding in English. I have found, I do a lot of walking, and walking day and night. I walk places here that I would never walk back in the USA, many other countries probably. But the guy sleeping on the street, to the kid, to the older people in the market, many people will stop whatever they're doing and have a conversation with me, take interest in me, and smile. And they don't know who you are. So I always say, if you're friendly first, they don't know what language you speak, what your intentions are, and if you smile and speak to somebody, 99% of the time you're going to get a smile and a hello, good afternoon, right back. We all want to be in a safe place, and my experience in the Philippines is that it is quite safe. As I said before, I've walked in many areas day and night, and if anything, I've had people tell me, sir, you shouldn't be in this area, and they even walk with me out of a particular area early on. Um, it is rare to have violent crimes against tourists and foreigners here. It is, in many cases, it was a foreigner who was arrogant, perhaps drinking, and instead of walking away from a confrontation, got involved, pushed the level of that confrontation further than what they should have. Of course, it will matter of what area that you're in, so just be aware of that. Ask the locals. And when I first came to Cebu City, I wanted to go down to Carbone Market and Cologne Street, the downtown area, and several Filipinos told me, "No, sir, it's dangerous down there. You don't want to go down there." And after a couple of months, I got up my courage and I went down there, and I've taken a number of subscribers down there since, and it's been a good experience. Anywhere and everywhere, you need to be aware of your surroundings, and I've had, I think, 3 phones snatched, pickpocketed, and they were in crowds at the big Sinulog festival, in a crowd of pushing people. And when I came out, neither a phone nor a wallet. Well, that was silly of me to be carrying them into those types of areas. But, not letting the pickpockets off. Um, be careful with the jewelry that you wear. Many, many years ago, a lady told me I was on Cologne Street area, and somebody ripped a necklace right off my neck. Well, those kind of things can happen. Be careful, whatever country you're in. In general, very safe country, and the Filipinos will watch your back. This has been my observation and experience. It is English is the second official language in the Philippines. Every official document that I have seen has been in English, so it's very easy to fill those out. I've been to Vietnam also, and everything was in Vietnamese, and I went through an agency there to get my visa on arrival approved before I flew into Vietnam. So it is easy to find somebody who speaks English. Now, it is a different kind of English. Some people speak much clearer English than other people. Some people, their English vocabulary isn't the same as our vocabulary. Just like me talking to an Australian or a Brit, depends on what part of London they're from, for instance. Their accent, what part of America they are from, and their accents, it can be more difficult to understand. You'll find the same thing here. We pronounce different sounds differently, so the same word, they'll say it differently than I will. Paint might sound like pont. Uh, I get that. Oh, what did you say? My girlfriend and other people, what did you say? On a regular basis. But if you're going to the pharmacy, I recommend that you write down the name of the medicine that you want, because especially at pharmacies where you got these longer words of over-the-counter drugs or even prescription drugs. I have found that it's often they get confused by my pronunciation. When I visited Vietnam, for instance, I was in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, and I had a sinus infection. No, I think I had strep throat, and I've had it many times in the U.S. Only once or twice here in the Philippines in 8 years. And I knew I needed amoxicillin, and I went to a pharmacy, and of course everything is in Vietnamese print, and I could not communicate. Fortunately, a lady that spoke very good English came up and translated, and I got what I needed. So those are one of the issues, a big plus for the Philippines there. Cost of living is very important to many of us, was one of the main factors as I researched the various countries. And, I've done many videos about my cost of living in the Philippines. There's dozens and dozens of other vloggers have done cost of living videos. It comes down to this. It comes down to you understanding what your income is, what backup plan you have, what savings you have, and for you to control your spending, to choose your costs. For instance, the experts say that you should only spend about 25 or 30% of your net income on housing. So think about that. Well, you take your pretty much guaranteed, nothing is 100% guaranteed, but take your guaranteed income you expect to have, take 25 to 30% of that, and stay within bounds. What you eat, where you choose to eat, how often you go for entertainment, what you spend on your girlfriends. And believe me, several years ago I did a video called "What Does a Girlfriend Cost?" Got a lot of comments, and I finally took it down because some Filipinos said it was offensive to them. But it was those are costs to consider. Everybody needs another phone eventually. Everybody needs medical. Everybody needs dental eventually. There are costs involved whether you live here or out of the country. Dental costs are much less. I just did a video of my stay in the hospital. Hospital costs were much less here for my broken shoulder than what they would have been back in the U.S. I am sure even with my Medicare health insurance back there in the USA. So there are many options. You can if you've got the budget, you can get the very nice houses, huge, elegant houses, great large condominiums, or you can scale down where most of us are in that mid-range income group, and you can manage that. You can find there's because of these 3 years, almost 3 years of travel lockdowns and restrictions, millions of people went back to their country. There are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, millions of hotel rooms, condominiums, resort rooms sitting vacant, and there have never been more options than there are right now. And you can find something in your price range or negotiate. Don't be afraid to negotiate on the terms of a lease also. Travel here is quite inexpensive. You've got a lot of islands. 7,000 islands scares some people, but really most people will only be concerned with the 11 largest islands, or even fewer than that. Most people are only going to be concerned with 2 or 3 different islands, maybe even a little island hopping in between. So don't let 7,000 islands scare you. But travel is very inexpensive, whether you go by taxi, rent a taxi for the day for 3,000 to 4,000 pesos, which $3,060 $60 to $80 for the whole day with the driver. You can rent a larger van, going to cost you more than that, 8,000, 100 140 US dollars, something like that, van and driver. Um, you can take buses, probably the most economical. Ferries are very economical to get around. You've got numerous airports across the Philippines where you can travel. Uh, Jeepneys and tricycles and all sorts of other options to travel, and they will vary by where you're at too. But it is very, the cost of living generally is very low here compared to most countries. Now, I've had people say, "Oh, I can live for that much in the USA." Yeah, I know there are places you can find cheap in the USA, but that's not where I want to live. I don't want to. The cost of living is one of the very important factors, but it's not the only important factor. Health and stress would come under that as well. I know when I was here about 6 months, I went back to the USA for a couple months, and when I flew back, when I landed again, I just felt the stress from my life in the USA just lifting off of me as I landed in the Philippines. And that is my experience. I've had other people say that they've flown on in, and just the certain amount of chaos in the Philippines, in the traffic, the crazy traffic, that they experienced a greater stress, perhaps. And we all handle those types of things differently. I sit back in the taxi and I enjoy the ride, even though the traffic can be crazy. And with few traffic laws observed, and if you've watched some of my other travel videos, you understand what I'm talking about. And but anyway, otherwise, getting back to strictly health, I can tell you that personally, and we all handle this differently. We come from different areas. I grew up in the cold north central USA. Never did like the cold, so when I was old enough, I got married, and I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and Las Vegas. A little bit of time in Los Angeles, and I do much better with heat than I do with cold. And I've had a number of issues like headaches. Every couple months in the USA, I would get a headache, would last about 3 days, go away. And I rarely get those here in the Philippines. I think it's related to being closer to the equator, and when it's related to the sun's energy. The sun has many types of energies it throws. It has different storms on the sun, and energetic events, throws different types of things at Earth and out into space, and I kind of tie it to that. Thought it was atmospheric pressure many years ago, but I've kind of linked it to what the sun is doing. So I get much fewer headaches here. My allergies are much less. A lot of allergies up in the mid-central with all the grasses and everything. And I kind of thought I would have allergy problems here, pollen and such, but it's much less. Not sure why, but it is for me. The humidity, I lived in Arizona and Las Vegas for many, many, many years. Very low humidity, 6 to 10% average probably. And I've had sinus infections a number of times, and the doctor specialist that I went to, he said, "Yeah, we treat a lot of foreigners. They're not used to the humidity here." But on the other hand, there are many of you who live in very humid climates, for instance, in the southeast USA. And I think every Floridian, Georgian, people from Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas will tell you, yeah, it's hotter and more humid there on average than it is here in the Philippines. So we'll each have a different experience with health. Your health system here, if you need to be close to the best hospitals, Manila would be the best place. They've got some very highly rated hospitals in Manila, places like other large cities, Cebu City, Davao City. good hospitals. Dumaguete, I think, because there's so much, I don't know, because or just Dumaguete, I think, has a reputation of having good hospitals. Probably Iloilo and Bacolod also are in that list, probably. Variety. One of the problems that I would have in many countries that I was considering is getting bored after a period of time. Belize, Panama, perhaps Costa Rica, and other nations. I think I would become bored. I would become bored after a certain point in time. The Philippines has such a vast variety of places to visit. Some of the best beaches in the world, but not just that. They've got thousands of beaches out there that you can visit. You've got the options, the big cities, or the smaller towns out in the province to the rural areas. You've got the mountains, you've got the sea, you've got a few inland lakes, you've got caves to explore. You've got so many things to do. If you are bored, it's your own fault. Go to the next island or go to another part of the island that you're in. Very cheap to travel. Hire a taxi driver or a van driver or a tricycle driver for the day, just to take you around and show you the things in the area. This one might surprise some of you, but the expat community here in the Philippines, I've got several friends, Australia, New Zealand, Britain, and other countries. And I've met many of my subscribers, Sweden and Norway and Europe, other Europe countries, Germans, and just has been a great experience meeting people from these different countries. And not only that, many of these people have traveled and they can give you advice. There's a certain point in time where at least, I've had some people comment, no, I never want to see another expat Westerner when I'm there. But for most of us, we're going to appreciate that. It's going to depend upon the area that you live in, how many expats are there, and the mix of expats, whether they want to, they get together. I mean, there are bars where they hang out at. There are events. There's a walking club, for instance, in various parts of the Philippines. Hash House Harriers, I think. There are bowling clubs. There are other events and clubs where you can get together with expats. Find them in coffee shops. Just walking around malls or out on the street, you can meet them out there. And I've met several just walking down the street, and you start having conversation. But these are people with, for the most part, I mean, you've got some common history, you've got a common language, you've got to a certain point common education, and you can have that conversation. Sports teams, I know the Aussies and the Brits, other Europeans like to watch soccer, what they call football. You've got other sports to enjoy. Australian rules football and rugby, and I find them quite interesting, something I didn't see much of in the USA as well. Last but not least, and I'm looking forward to your comments and your suggestions as well, probably the overall comfort level. And I have moved around the USA quite a bit and traveled quite a bit and across the USA. I have adapted to new areas from the north central states to the southwest states to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which was a nice medium-sized city. Las Vegas, Los Angeles was probably kind of like Manila, just too big for me. I enjoyed my couple year stay there. Was an experience glad I had, but wouldn't want to live there a long time. The comfort level here, you can seek out different things. Part of it, I think, is because it's a basically a Christian nation. Um, I could adapt anywhere, but I think there's a certain comfort level to its ties in history to the Western world. Its ties in the World War II, for instance, to the USA, North America, USA, Canada, Australia, and so many other countries that fought in that war, especially here in the Philippines. So, taking all things into account, all the various countries that I thought about and researched, I think the Philippines is still number one on my list. And there's a certain comfort level here, and I've adapted well. And I think if you have a certain amount of patience, it's a developing country. So if you understand that, great place to retire to.